In 2015, the MLA, late 2015, the MLA did the cost estimates for endemic diseases in Australia. And they do it across 3 species, sheep, beef and goats. And in the sheep industry, the biggest cost, endemic disease cost to our industry, is perinatal losses. Perinatal being the time around lambing. Perinatal losses, and it's cost the industry nearly $500 million a year. So close to $500 million a year. Now that's a very conservative number, and that does not include ewe mortality either. So, so from that, the next biggest thing, to put it into perspective, the next biggest thing is something like worms at 250 to 300 million, and then flies are behind that. So, based on that information, what do you think would be one of the biggest drivers of those perinatal losses? Not going to bite. Pretty obvious. Feed and nutrition. So feed and nutrition is out of some, I'm pretty sure it was, I can't remember the name of it. It was a lamb monitor project down at Hamilton, and 60 to 70% of lamb deaths were a result of mismothering, starvation, or failing to meet ewe nutrition requirements through that pregnancy period and into that lambing period. So they account for most of the lamb deaths. And the other fact that you might find interesting is that you know, two out of 3 lambs are surviving. So we're still got, as an industry standard, you would have heard the term from someone like Jason Trompf, 33% of lambs aren't making it to be a live lamb. So that's a big cost to industry, and that's where that $460 million comes from conservatively. So hopefully today I can provide you with some framework and probably confirmation of things that you're already going to talk or already going to make a decision on anyway, to help you get through to that lambing period. And the thing is, what you'll find today is the decisions that you make in the next 3 months and how you manage your sheep in the next 3 months will determine the outcome generally at lambing in winter next year. So these books are going to have a fair bit of information in them about what I talk about today. And in the back, there's a couple of feed tables in the back. So they'll have here, it's got all your dry matter, your energy, your protein of your different feeds that you could choose to feed to your sheep. And there's also, further in, there's a few basic guidelines on what certain animals need at certain times in different classes of livestock. And this presentation will be sent to you as a PDF as well if you've put your email address down if you miss anything. And by no means is this a lecture. There's plenty of people in the room that are a lot older than I am, and they've seen many a drought, a lot more droughts than I've seen, and they've managed their way through it. Otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here and you wouldn't be interested in livestock. And there's 1,000 different ways to skin a cat. So if you've got something that's worked for you when we're going through the talk, and it has done in the past, you know, I'm not standing up here to tell you that there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Share your information, because there'll be someone sitting next to you that won't have thought of that or haven't been able to do that, and it might help someone else out in the room. So sharing the information amongst ourselves is a great way to work through these things, or these challenging periods. So really we just need to understand what our aim is. We've identified what our aim is. Probably the things that we're going to be thinking about now is, are we supplementary feeding or are we finishing? We're going to come up to joining, things like that. So we need to think about what our aim is with our livestock, what nutrients are important, and what are the energy requirements of different classes of livestock. Determining feed values, is it suitable? And we'll go through that. Adding value through supplementation, so feeding the right feed to the right animal. So are we finishing? Are we supplementary feeding? Are we finishing crossbred lambs? Are we feeding ewe weaners to get to a mature body weight? Are we feeding ewes to get up for joining? Are we going to be feeding ewes in heavy pregnancy? We're going to have different classes of ewes in different stages of pregnancy as we move through the spring and summer and autumn. So we need to keep all these things in mind. This graph, it's a bit small, the PowerPoint. This is not intended to be order of importance to the point of the triangle. I'd probably put water down the bottom. It's one of the most essential nutrients. So we've got different nutrient requirements of livestock, and they vary with age, weight and stage of growth. So we've got water, energy, protein, fibre and vitamins and minerals. The things we'll focus on will be obviously water. You need to make sure we've got water. Energy, protein and fibre. If we get most of these things right, we're going to get 80% of it right. And then there's a couple of things that we'll focus on here, but I'd probably refer to them as the 1%ers. So for example, if we've got a fast-growing 40-kilo lamb, crossbred lamb, it's going to need nutrients in balance. So we need energy to provide fat. So energy could come in the form of glucose or simple sugars from, say, starch or from grass. Energy to provide fat or intramuscular fat to give it fuel to build muscle and skeletal development. But we need the protein in the diet for those, which is the building blocks for that muscle deposition. So we need to balance it out.